I'm Karen Hoyer.
And I'm James Donlin. Season two. Season
Ah,
two.
yes, a little tilt
Ah,
of the mime wine.
oh, yeah. I forgot my
Cheers.
wine glass. That's a tradition that we have to continue.
So, who's behind the scenes today?
Um, we have Michael Diaz, our producer, engineer, glue man, uh, the guy behind the curtain with all the levers and the levers and pulls the ears out and puts the eyeballs in. He won't be with us today, only in because he has
He's
another
behind the scenes this time
behind the
around.
scenes today. Yeah, but we're ready to go, and
Uh,
we have an amazing guest today. We have Gregg Goldston,
oh, yes.
who is almost as old as I am. But mimes are ageless. So let me read you something about him. This is a man, Gregg Goldston, who has been a force in the mime world for almost 5 decades. He saw a performance of Marcel Marceau in 1975 and immediately began his pursuit of mime. Born in Los Angeles, Gregg first trained under Richmond Shepard in Hollywood. By 1979, he had opened his own mime studio and began touring his solo shows throughout the Western United States. In 1980, the Ohio Arts Council encouraged Gregg to relocate his school, where he continued teaching and touring his performances across the United States and internationally. In Ohio, the Goldston School hosted seminars by Marcel Marceau, who stated to the press, Goldston is creating the first generation of American mimes. In 1986, he created The Invisible People, a 7-member mime company that toured until 1997. Gregg was an assistant performer to Marcel Marceau during his 2000 to 2002 USA tours, and later performed lead roles during the final performances of the Marcel Marceau Company. Gregg has lived in New York City since 2000, where he continues to perform and teach at his studio. So let's welcome Gregg Goldston.
Yay.
Ta-da!
Gregg, it's so wonderful to have you with us today. Welcome.
Right.
Thank you so much.
I
Big
guess
honor
actually,
to be a part of this.
I do appear a little older, so we're doing well.
Hey, Gregg, I know that you have performed and taught in all sorts of different venues, different places with different ages. Your performing routine, what is it like right before you go on stage? Do you have a certain thing that you think, a mantra, or is there a physical routine that you go through to prepare right before you go out on stage?
Well, I'm sure like everybody else, I try to make sure I'm warmed up. Uh, I know this is not right before I go on, but sometimes you don't have that kind of time if you're doing a school assembly at 9:15 a.m., right? You're waking up on stage. Um, I don't do anything so mentally. I've never really thought of it, Karen. Um,
What are your thoughts? Do you have a thought
no, I'll get to it. You will notice that I'll take pauses, so I'm trying to say something that sounds correct, said well. Um, if I'm really scared, okay, this is just because it's a friendly interview. Sometimes I'll go out loud, Marcel.
Oh, cool. Nice. Now, are you
Like,
channeling him, or are you like
no, I'm just
celebrating him? What's going on there?
calling out for help, It really is. It's a cry for help.
Well,
Um,
do you get stage fright? Are you nervous before performance?
yeah, I do. And I think we're all supposed to, even with the school assembly. You want your adrenaline at a certain level. So you're on top of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the other trick I do is for my adult shows and kid shows, meaning college shows. My first play, um, I think on YouTube, you don't see this because it's an old version of my hat play
Mm-hmm.
called What the.
Mm-hmm.
I play have mixed. I do Dave Brubeck's Take Five,
Ah, yeah.
and it plays about a minute and a half or so. So it'll fade out, but that starts playing before I enter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always nice because that just puts me in the right mood, the audience as well, and it sort of fades out once I start the point fixing of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's
So
Chairman.
the music is actually putting you in the right space.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
nice.
also a nice icebreaker. I used to always start my show dead silent, but I noticed if I just have, um, do 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 do, it puts everyone in a good mood. And if I'm at a school, uh, sometimes the principal will just bomb with the introduction of me. You know, they, and they don't do it on purpose, but they'll just go, "Okay, Greg Goldston,"
He's a
they won't
Mimi.
say-
He's a Mimi from San Francisco or something.
It's that they won't say "let's welcome." If there's applause before you come out, it breaks the air.
Mhm.
After the verbal. And so finally, I take five in there. So it's I would say icebreaker, but it changes the air, and that's what mime is about.
Changing the air, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the crew said this once. I don't know where I read it. I can't remember, but in my very first couple of years, he said if you are moving in real time, meaning like normal walk or whatever, he says you're not doing mime. Okay? So this is why often people will associate mime, maybe not us maybe, but the public will go, oh, yeah, mine's like in slow motion. And it's because we're moving either slower than real time. Real time means tick-tock, right? Like dancers are technically moving in real time because they're counting a 4/4. Okay, that's just a general statement because some don't. Anyway, or we move. So we move either slower than real time, or we'll move. Here's a good one: 3 times as faster than real time. And I learned over time, if you move twice as fast, it turns out twice as fast is real time, just faster. But there's something about, right? That was 3 times fast. This is right slower than. So we're compressing time, or we're expanding time, right? Compress is right doing it faster than
Exactly.
or we're
Yeah. Often
And-
Depending on what the actual piece needs, we can make those choices, and the audience will follow along with us.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I want to get back to that a little later. This is fascinating what you're talking about in terms of time and space. I'm going to ask you though. So you've prepared yourself to go onto the stage in whatever way that you choose. Then, who are those people out there to you? Like it depends, of course, on different sorts of audiences. Youthful audiences, children, or adults, or senior citizens. Now, not necessarily in what kind of material you do for them, but what does that force of nature that's before you, that you're about ready to confront, what do they mean to you? Like how do you perceive this public that is out there? Who are they? What are you going to do for them? Where do they fit in your consciousness? What's going on there?
Is this a Meisner class or something?
Absolutely. No, this is Donlan theory.
Oh,
So
wow.
like Donlan Hoyer theory. So who are those people?
Here's how I look at everything. Okay. And that's even what I'm doing backstage. That group is I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And they control my show by how they respond.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was a record player, remember the old record players, right? As if they sped it up or put their finger on it and slowed me down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's when I know to slow down, not even to be. The term I use back to crew, the term I use for it is off the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to explain, but meaning if I'm moving in real time, I'm on the clock, but where we want to be is off the clock. Okay, like
Yeah.
how jazz sort of runs around the 4/4, right?
So you respect this body of humanity out there. You're very respectful, because you'd say, and in some ways, they educate you in the moment to perform in off the clock, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
trying to put them on the clock with you,
No.
on another relative clock?
Um,
I like the way this interview is going. I like this surrealism that word, because mime is the art of surrealism. So here we go.
yeah, surreal and like impressionism too.
True.
I used to like Edward Hopper. I used to be very much into realism paintings.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care for impressionist work. And as my mime career and my early works were very, clean, square, everything. I was in high school. I was a student in mechanical drawing, architectural drawing, all that.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly a connection there. I mean,
That's
my father was a draftsman, and I would observe him. But you're also a visual artist. I've seen these drawings and the introductions of some of your pieces in video. Those are your drawings, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I mean, there is a connection to this visual brain in terms of art and forms and shape, and the mime work. I mean, it's definitely the same brain in some ways.
So as you've progressed, do you feel like your artistic vision has become a little bit more abstract or impressionistic and less concrete?
Yes, that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Even my drawings used to be blockheads, stick figures. Of course, it started that I was using those to notate my plays. It was better for me to look at a phrase in drawings to know here's the first section than write in words. That was probably some plateau change in the way I worked. And then I noticed that, in fact, one of my girlfriends at the time noticed that as my show was changing, so was what I drew or how I drew.
Mm-hmm.
And
could you say that in some ways you're presenting personal storyboards for this public? You, in your mind, you have a sense of this visual shape and form and texture, and you're presenting a storyboard. No, I'm not talking about the style, whether it's abstract or literal, but there's that mental. And there's also, you do. I know you're fond of music, and it's very important to you. So it's interesting how the animated, like when we grew up, the classic animated films had percussion and sound scores that were so synchronized to the, that's a weird word, synchronated. That's another Donlin. But the use of visual and sound was so integrated in those classic old cartoons that I'm sure you and I both watched. And I'm wondering if that had influenced you somehow at that time in terms of
very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, who else actually? Jerry Lewis in a certain play. I think it's where he's some dude who runs errands. An errand boy. Maybe it's called the errand boy, and he's in Hollywood, and somehow he comes into a room. It's on YouTube, even now. But I saw it when I was very young, and he's at like a big boardroom, and he sits at the as if he's the chairman, and the song comes on, and he picks up a cigar, a real one, and the song goes wow 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 wow. Okay, that's the melody, right? And so you see him go wobble, wobble, wobble,
Yeah.
wobble, 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 right? And later, that's where I ended up with the play again on YouTube called The Argument, where I play three jazz musicians, violin, stand-up bass, and piano. And the goal, usually when I write a play, it's not because I have an idea, but I have an idea. I have something I've never done, or I wonder if it could be done in mine, right? Like stretch, like, huh. But anyway, my goal behind this was to make a gesture, which could even be a thought, right? But a gesture for every single note in that song.
Oh my.
Yeah.
A whole violin solo. That's why it's called The Argument. I was walking along, I heard this song. It's by Stephen Grappelli, if you know the name. French violinist. And I went, wow, it sounds like that's a conversation the violin solo did. And then one of my favorite songs, Autumn Leaves. And then a couple of days later, the piano solos after the violin, I go, that sounds like his response. And I went, there's a play.
Yeah, everything's kinetic, correct? Everything is cause and effect, whether it's from the ear to the eye. You know, there's one thing you say, I've heard you say, is see before you touch.
Yes.
You know, and that's so correct in terms of inner life and intention. You know, so many young performers, there's no stimulus, or that kinetic cause is not there to make them do the action, you know, whatever it is, you know. So this inner relationship of the world, this kinetic cause and effect, is so important to mime. I think mime distills that down into its basics. Don't you think so?
That's a great word. Distill is also like compress. You know, can I talk?
Go ahead.
I want to demonstrate, because you brought up a great point, James. I think our generation, we had different teachers.
Yeah.
Our teachers taught us to keep studying.
Yeah.
Or somehow that was, even if they didn't say it, we knew.
Or provoke the curiosity, not to solve the problem right now, but to be curious, to continue to find the answers. You know, I think you're right. Absolutely.
I know I am, because when you watch people on Facebook, no, I mean, not that I'm right, but you can't watch, and I don't mean everyone, but most of the young people on beginners, let's call them, not young, on Facebook, YouTube, they just don't show a train of thought.
There's that quick, you know, everything is quick images now. Everything is like almost like life is a sight gag, you know, or a sight, you know, like a whiff of air, and then it's gone. And then where's the next whiff coming from? You know?
Can I give you a demonstration?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay.
I know you're ready. You're poised on that chair. Get out of that chair, Gregg.
Hey, look, I've done Zoom so long, I can do chair mime, okay?
Okay. All right.
Watch.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Have you ever done this as a piece? Like, you know, maybe when we're 95, this might be something innovative.
In our wheelchairs.
I accidentally wrote a play a couple of Tuesdays ago. Haruka and I do a one-on-one. And I was talking about how I use depth, because she says, you know, she goes, somehow you know how to, right? Instead of always be two-dimensional.
Yeah.
Right.
I know that I need to, even that gives me depth and perspective on stage. But give me just a couple of minutes of silence, or 1 minute. And here's what I mean about the mimes not showing thought, which plays into what did we say? Look before you touch.
Yeah, the
right?
cause and effect.
Look before you touch.
You want me to hum during this or no?
No, James,
Okay.
just
All right.
give me.
Okay. All right.
Okay. This is mime without. This is what I see is they're just somebody taught them, or they had no teacher, and so they think I have to keep looking at this thing and keep touching it as if they're afraid that the public won't see that this is a ball, right? Or that this is a cup. So I better just stare at it. So they will do this. See, compared to looking, then getting it. So you see, so I showed them, meaning them, that something's there. And so I'm not just showing the illusion, but you could also see I'm acting. You could tell I'm curious or I'm afraid. So this is when a mime acts. And so they skip that, right? And then they also do this. And I'm sorry, I would teach them. I've made videos for them, in fact, to watch. All right, so again, look, no thought. Okay, nice balloon, but big deal. Now watch. I realized I came up with this term. It's the obvious term. It's called the look away. I have to look away from this thing, this Juliet, this piano, to show you what I think about it. If I keep looking at it and trying to show you I'm thinking, it just looks like I'm examining it, not thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the look away in action. See, when I look away from it, you see
Right.
what I think. Even when I'm not touching it, as it goes away, I look at it and I think about it, then I look back at it.
So in a sense, you're thinking when you say look away, I like your analogy. It's not only looking away, but it's sending your heart out. We're projecting energy with the object, but then your heart is also exiting to the space, which is
what I'm seeing, Gregg, is the same thing that you talked about in your preparation for the show, where you start with the music, so you draw them in, you could put them in the right space. The same thing is happening when you are looking. You're not even creating the object yet. You're just observing it and being there with it, and we're seeing your reaction to it. You're pulling the audience with you into that moment of you seeing it, so that they're there looking at it, ready to see what it's going to be. So they're
Exactly.
you're not showing it, you're pulling them in so that they see it too.
Yes, and therefore I'm creating a great anticipation, because they're going, wow, what is it? What is it? I think it's something on a table. Oh, I was right. It was something on the table. I'm so smart. No, that's
Yes.
the us too with the My Mind.
How'd you get started, Gregg?
If you just grab it, they feel late. Watch what I mean. I'll do it again. You feel late. Like I didn't know anything was there.
Right.
So 2 beats of, right? And then when I say I look away, it's incorrect grammar, okay? I'm looking away to show thoughts. I'm not looking. And this is one of the difficult things to learn in mime, is the difference between a look, like, oh, there's Juliet, right? I'm looking, right? Or I'm thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean, that the beginner minds have to learn that it's not about the balloon.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the person blowing it up, you know?
Yeah.
So they're so interested in, wow, look, I can make a wall, I can make a wall, I can make a wall. Well, big freaking deal. So can my nephew.
Gregg, when did you come to this sort of realization? I mean, because we all started at a basic level. When did you sort of find out that there's got to be a lot more than just the illusion, not just the showing off? What's your
I'll
arc
tell you.
of learning?
I'll tell you. I remember being on stage. Now, I must have been 8 years in or something, okay? Not just one or two. And I, or maybe it's when I went to the festival in Paul, I don't know. It was like there was a period of time, maybe I wasn't on stage, or I don't know why I realized this, but all of a sudden, here's the sentence. I said, oh, I'm improving because I can now show more thoughts in every 10-second interval than I used to. And that's when I realized the improvement is about more thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that's how they read our sentences, right?
How is that different than the economy of performance versus what you're talking? Well,
economy.
Like it's like what you see in elder.
I just didn't hear the word you used.
Okay, let me phrase it. So in elder artists, they have a great sense of economy and essence. The older you get, the more economic and the more essential one gets. You see it in musicians, you see it in all types of performers. So when you say I can now do more thoughts, how does that fit with this idea of essentiality? Is it a different, is there something I missed, or is it a?
No, I have a great answer for you.
Okay, great.
Usually in the mime world, we say economy of movement, right?
Right.
So the more thoughts I can show, the less moves I have to do. And there's economy.
You don't think of a thought as a move.
I know what you're thinking, but watch. I hope this answers what I'm talking about. Okay. Mime guy. When I say mime guy, I mean a beginner or somebody who hasn't really studied. Okay, cafe.
I get your drift.
Right?
Yeah, now, I get your drift.
Because they are thinking, like I said, with the balloon or ball, they're thinking, I hope they know this is a door.
Right.
So I better show the doorknob. Now maybe I better show the wall part of the door again, and then the doorknob, right? So that's how they get tangled up with the unessential.
Show us the trained version.
I was about to. I just
okay, great.
Version 1. And here, did you see? I didn't have time to show thoughts as the mime guy.
Right.
Watch. This is all thought. Almost, I learned about 7 years ago, and this is sort of when you asked about my art, Karen. I also learned I could show more by not touching stuff than by touching it. And that was a huge epiphany.
That's very important.
Here we are. See that cup? Watch this. This I call referral. I can keep this cup here as long as I want in your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stand back. Is this interesting to you?
What
Yeah,
you're
go
doing
ahead.
is very interesting.
Here we go. All I have to do is give it a glance within 5 seconds apart at the most, 6 at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And Haruka and I timed it.
Yeah, I have a saying that if the mime sees, the audience sees you. In other words, the importance of the eyes, because I feel that the hands and the eyes are the most important element of the mime's tools. You know, they're both extensions of the brain, of the nervous system. But if you see, people will see you. And that's, you're talking about that right now. That same kind of idea.
Plus, it's not just seeing you; it's also sort of seeing who you are and
right.
why. Why do you keep looking at the glass? There's something that's a little bit like, I want more. I refuse to drink more. There's more of the psychological part of the character that we are pulled into, instead of just like, I see a cup. I see a hand on a cup.
Okay, I want to know. Okay, I'm going to change the subject. I want to know.
I have to answer her question or reiterate.
Okay.
Sorry, but it's my job.
I'm doing my job too. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's my job as a teacher, not
right. Yeah, I want to talk about teaching in a little while.
Look at this. Remember, I talked about the look away and that I show thoughts, not look. Yeah. So I did this without you realizing it, meaning subtly. When I put it down, here's the trick. If you ever want to be a good illusionist, and I'm talking to the public, not you guys. The trick, 2 things about the invisible world. I see it. Watch, this is wrong, okay? I look and go.
Mm-hmm.
Now watch. I'm going to make it like put a spotlight on it. Watch. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do first. I'm going to look, and almost like a double take, I step back away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And it appears. You see this dead space here? Right? Yes?
Yeah.
Watch. Oh, I naturally do it now. Sorry. Oh. See, nothing there. Now watch. I go counterpoint. And it's like I gave the object space on stage so you see it more clearly before I approach. Then back to the look away with dots. As I do the same thing here. Look, as I see, I step away and the counter appears. Now watch. Doesn't really appear, does it? It disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just like magic. Now look. So if I look, and this is what I was telling you viewers, when I go away, I step away. I take one more step, still looking at it, before I turn away.
Mm-hmm.
And that prints it in the public's mind that as I'm leaving it, I'm showing you it's over there.
Nice.
The eyes.
Yeah, nice. That's really nice.
Okay.
It's very clear.
Eyes, yeah, that's the gig. And the eyes show, like James is saying, they show things and also how I feel, right? My heart or my thought process. And that's why first thing and most important thing is to learn how to show the difference between a thought and a look. And the easiest way in the illusionary world is if you look level, you're seeing something. If I look diagonally up, I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
If I look vertically like that, I'm probably seeing. You see?
Mm-hmm.
But if I do this with my eyes diagonally, you can't deny I'm thinking. James is going to change the subject, but I want to say one more thing. No, it's you brought up, I didn't know we'd have so much to talk about. You guys did.
Oh, we have a lot to talk about. In fact, we're just scratching the surface. Your comments about teaching and philosophy, that's still to come. We're going to get really into it in a bit.
Okay.
But I want to know when you, in 1975, you said your bio mentions that you saw Marcel Marceau, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what were your thoughts when you embarked on this pursuit, I like that word, of mime? What were your thoughts when you saw him? How did, all these ideas you're talking about now found their chrysalis with maybe that first experience with Marceau, through the TV or through the live performance? Mine was through TV in 1950.
I saw live.
Yeah, I saw him on TV in 1955 on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
And I have specific thoughts, but what were your thoughts, and how did that trigger your pursuit of mime? Like what was the attraction to the art of mime? And with that, the second part of this question is, how do you define mime for yourself? Because I think that's been a problem and a challenge for mimes throughout my lifetime. How do you define what you do? How do you inform somebody that has no idea about what it is, and you don't want to mislead them? But let's start with that first. Oh, there's Marceau. I think you said you were in a performance, and then what happened to you? What happened in that brain of yours?
Okay, background is a lot of people think I had parents that sent me to ballet or acting when I was a kid. I had nothing. Okay, they were both from Oklahoma. Dad was a carpenter, mother was a housewife. Born in 56, me. So I never saw anything. The only thing I saw that was artistic was John Wayne movies, basically, and our real artistic. It was like the Elvis Christmas album, right, or Blue Hawaii.
Huh.
No, I had no artistic, but I always liked making people laugh. Okay. So I was in a church that met in a park back in the Godspell days, same era. And a friend of mine, somehow I fell into a little sketch comedy group that they were doing at this church. And after a while, this friend of mine said, you got to see this guy, Marcel Marceau. He's coming into Century City, LA.
Well, I'm impressed by your friends if they knew about this.
Well, this guy has
good circle of friends.
He was, yeah. He had wanted to do mime all through high school himself.
Wow.
Okay, so he knew stuff I didn't, because I went to metal shop and he went to acting, right?
We have a similar background. My father was a designer, inventor of machinery, and my mother was a housewife who was a visual artist. It's very interesting how I didn't have much arts in my lifetime either, other than my mother, who was a choir director. But anyway, go ahead.
So he says, this one kills me. I mean, when I think back on it, he goes, "You got to see this guy named Marcel Marceau. He can put his hands together in a way that he's holding a rose. And you could see the rose right in his hand." And I'm thinking this, why do I want to see a guy hold a rose? I was clueless, right? It was the first time I went into a real theater. So I'm 18-ish. So we go in. It was a big theater, 3,500 seats, okay? We were far back enough to where, fortunately, I went with two other friends. One of the friends had binoculars. And this is how far away Marceau was from us. I put up he lent me the binoculars, and I actually saw he had white face, lips, etc. From where we sat, it was just a white dot of a head. Yeah. And we got everything, every single joke, every drama, all of it. And so,
what theater was that? Do you remember? Being from LA region myself, was it, where were we? What was it? One of the famous halls?
City. It's I forget the name offhand.
It wasn't like the Shrine Auditorium or the
no.
Like
Shrine is where the rock and rollers played.
Yeah,
this was a big Broadway theater. Anyway, so my first thought was, because Young Frankenstein just came out, my first thought, and my background, knowing nothing, I said, this is funnier than Young Frankenstein, right? And what else I didn't, and then remember he had a flag holder. Mm-hmm. Pierre Very at the time, the best, would have, and I'm just explaining for public if they don't know, mm-hmm. They would hold a stick with or it was a board, and it would say the lion tamer or the mask maker. So right. This person would run out in the dark, hit a pose, a light would come up, light would go down, and you would stand there totally frozen. I did it when you read that I was an assistant. I was an assistant doing that on his solo tours.
Wow.
Anyway, so I was.
Did you have the costume with like the very costume with the plume and the
yes,
the kind of a Renaissance costume? Yeah.
Yep, very much.
Yeah.
And that feather, believe me, you have to run and stop. You don't want that light to come up.
Oh wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I remember speaking about
anyway, I'm not finished.
Let me just make a comment. Speaking about that style of performance that Marceau had, I remember that I don't know if you noticed this at that young age, but when the lights would go down after a piece, his energy would change, and he would very softly, almost like a ghost, because you could still feel the white of the costume, drift off the stage. And then he would drift on very slowly, and then the lights would come on, and then the Marceau and full bloom would be there. But this your description of you entering and having to stop so this thing doesn't stop wave, I can feel that, that pathway from off in the wings to center stage, is a spectacularly sacred journey. And I just remember Marceau had a sacred journey. And you probably were privy to that because you were a part of the performance of his energy in those moments, those transitions.
Imagine this, that you're here with a flag, okay? I live there, off stage, public's there.
Yeah.
So imagine the light goes down and you drop, you run, we ran.
Yeah.
The flag holders ran. And there would go Marceau. So we're running, and he's.
Did you guys cross?
And he's doing that angelic walk that you
right.
described. It was such
do you remember what his breath was like? What do you remember anything about his essence in that dark blackout? Like what his energy would have been like, or his demeanor? Did you have any remember?
Pretty much. I was so fortunate that even before I was a flag holder, because he came to my school, right? I was hosting at my school since 86. Met him in 85. Is that he would let me, anytime I was near, he would let me watch the show from the wings.
Oh, beautiful.
And that's why I understand so much, because, and here's a fun one. From the front, okay, public's out there.
Right.
You see Marceau in one of those statues, and you think he's vertical. Okay? From the side, here's what he is. Not this. He's like this.
Interesting.
See, look.
Mm-hmm.
See the depth I've created?
Exactly. Yeah.
Look how far this hand goes out into the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this hand's wrong.
So he had a great influence on you in many ways. And here's a quote.
In every way.
Here's a quote of his attributed to him from 1960. The quote says, attributed to him, "Mime is the very essence of theater." Is that maybe something that you felt early in that early time with him, that you maybe couldn't express it, but there was something all-consuming, something the fire of life itself was burning in that statement and in his heart, and then so mine became the pathway to finding this expression of the theater form and all its pathways?
I think that would be true.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a multi-layered, meaning you could take that sentence and apply it to a few different areas, though, which I learned over time. Like, but he was saying that underneath all art forms, and let's say performing art forms, he's not talking about, that's why I said theater, not art, right? Like not a painting. Yeah. But anyway, that it's the root, because you're standing out there performing. And it also applies to, like I'm now coaching, I've coached cabaret singer, I've coached a ballerina, I taught for American Ballet Theater, because they need not just acting, they could use some of Marceau's three-dimensionality, because actors, so I say to people, I have the same toolbox, right? For everybody. Mm-hmm. But if it's a ballet dancer, I take these tools and say, instead of doing this, do this. See how more 3D and larger than life, which comes from.
Do you have any ballet in your background before you studied mime at all?
No, I studied Salt Lake was a dance capital.
Yeah.
And so I could sort of study by osmosis, or by certain friends would give me certain things I was looking for.
What was it? Do you have any relationship with the Salt Lake Mime troupe? Salt Lake Mime Theater?
They were there when I arrived.
I forget their names. I did some workshops for them early in my career.
I think there was a Matthew and a Patty and a.
That's right. But you weren't connected to them. You didn't.
No, I wasn't. In fact, one reason I ended up in Salt Lake, I was living at home. I still hadn't moved out. I was 17 and a half, 18-ish. Was going to junior college, right? Wanting to be a painter, right? Or some kind of commercial artist. Anyway, my friend moved there from LA. This same guy who told me about Marceau, he moved to Salt Lake, and he said, Gregg, move here because there's a lot of dance, and because the public loves dance, they love mime. And there's a group here called Great Salt Lake Mime Troupe, who was bringing in audiences of 500.
Yeah.
So I went there for that reason, and we were friends, but I wasn't like ever work with them or something. I would watch their shows, etc. They knew me.
And then they went on the road for a long time. They became kind of itinerant nomads. I think that group.
James, you lost the thread of the question, which was getting Gregg to define the art of mime. And how has that definition changed?
Well, I don't know. Gregg, do you want to go there?
Yep.
Go there.
Most of my definitions are either too elementary or too intellectual or sophisticated, okay?
And who says that?
I'm saying it.
Okay.
This is my preface, okay?
All right.
Here's the real definition. We don't use words because we move at the speed of thought.
Nice.
Okay. The difference between mime and dance is technically is that dancers move with momentum. Okay. Mimes make gestures. Right? That all three of those said something. Right? The difference between dance and I mean, mime and acting is mostly that, like I said already, we're moving off the clock, and we're not speaking. And the big deal is what I started with. When I say we move at the speed of thought, is that I set up a phrase meaning 3 to 8 moves, right? Such as this. Okay, so that was a pretty much, well, it was almost 3 sentences and a paragraph into a paragraph. Okay, but now watch, same thing. Ready? Your brain followed all of that because that's how fast thought happens. You see, so I showed you a slow version. You didn't even need to see it, but to give you the idea that that's why in the argument I could move as fast as a violin solo and draw paragraph after paragraph. So wait, just to culminate, sorry, James. The reason I'm in love with mime is that I have learned how to give them equations. 2 + 2 = 4, or what have you, right? And they will follow. They can, although I'm staying 1 beat ahead, so they have to chase me. You know what I mean by that, I'm sure. I'm going as fast as they can possibly think. And that's when it comes back to your initial question, James, about what is that, my audience, who are they to me? It's that, right? So elementary kids can't think as fast as adults, right? Or junior high, so they're all different in respect to how fast I can deliver equations.
So you're an educator. You're an educator on. Oh! It's that time. It's that time. Oh, I think you have a gift. Is that correct? That you received a mysterious gift in the mail?
Time for the gift, Gregg.
Let's get ready. We would like you.
Oh, dear.
It's already alive, I can tell. It's where's it from, Gregg? Tell us where it's from.
Well,
I can't see that. Yeah.
It's from
the Mime Museum.
The Mime Museum, Chicago, Illinois.
Open it up. Let's see what's inside.
Also says the Mime Radio Show.
Yeah.
Yep, that's us.
And open this in.
There you go. Yeah, there's a special. Yeah.
Do not open until now.
You're right.
Okay. So
he's got his knife ready.
I figured it'd be easier than trying to rip this packing tape.
Careful now, it might be fragile.
Nah, it'll last, I'm sure.
Okay. Say when.
Well, it's lasted this long, Karen.
Yeah, it's not gonna blow up, I promise.
Here, play the music again.
Okay.
There you go. Oh boy.
Here it comes.
An object. Even actors have to do this.
Is it a Marceau bobblehead? I don't know.
I don't know, but there's those.
Look inside. Tell us what you see, what you've got.
I see this.
I haven't really been privy to this gift, so I'm not sure what it is.
It's an artifact. It's an artifact from the Mime Museum. Our curator, Michael Diaz, is deacquisitioning many of our displays. And so this one is coming to you as a gift from us.
Thank you so much.
Is there a card?
Yes.
It's on the bottle, I think.
Yes, this is just my address again.
Look on the gift itself.
Oh, I see it. I see it. You guys are so good. So good to me. And the card I will read to your guests, this bottle, oh yeah, the Mime Museum, Michael Diaz curator. This bottle contains gusts of wind captured during a pas de deux performance by Gregg Goldston and his umbrella partner. Caution, uncorking the bottle will destroy the artifact's integrity. That's brilliant.
So you're being saluted into posterity with this
Greg,
essence
this
of
is
your.
one of
Oh, look,
yes.
look.
That's your umbrella. The very first time I saw you perform, Greg, was at some kind of a booking conference in Ohio, and you performed with your umbrella.
Ah,
To see it again on YouTube was like a really great memory for me. Although I didn't remember having the music that you have. Is the music a more recent edition? The music is fabulous.
yes,
I
yes.
don't even know what the music is, but
It's
it goes for your pas de deux with the umbrella.
yes. I must have done the umbrella. I would say 10, 15 years. Okay,
Mhm.
before music came. And I was living in Chicago. Yeah, I started in 1980 with an invisible balloon that then turned into an umbrella because I was in Paris using an umbrella. I was working the street to catch money. And one day I went, hey, umbrella does stuff that an invisible object doesn't. So anyway, so some show, I was planning for a tour and I was very much into swing music, right? Remember when swing was king in the mid 90s? And the song is an old 50s tune called Sleepwalk.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, the band is, what was his name? He was the most popular. He's the one playing the guitar. Anyway, so I'm rehearsing in my apartment, and I like to rehearse to music.
Mm-hmm.
And even a play like Umbrella that has music now, I will rehearse it to other songs
Mm-hmm.
because that's how I discover new rhythms for phrasing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so good friend of mine for a long time. He was a student also at the summer school, and he lived in Chicago. Anyway, he comes over. I go, Dan, I gotta show you this. He's like, what? I go, I'm thinking of doing the umbrella to this song. So we backed up. I clicked the song and I did it. And he just looked at me like this. you can't put the umbrella to music. Because it was like, it was so crisp in his head, he didn't want it to change. I think it was one of those. Like, so what it gave me, what was also interesting, because the music had this cool build and up and down an arc, that I realized I had been doing, and this is back to this whole 3D stuff, which I first started to realize that's why Marceau looks big, it's this 3Dism. Anyway, that my umbrella was very much profile with the parallel to the proscenium.
Mm-hmm.
And with this song, before I knew it, I would run off the clock, of course, all the way down to this corner of the stage.
Uh-huh.
And then this would pull me, right?
Right.
All the way up here. And all of a sudden I sort of discovered depth and perspective.
And that was given to you partly by the music, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't plan it, but I just know that as the music built, wah, wah, that I better be going, wah, wah.
It's interesting to talk to artists who have done pieces a long time and how they evolve. And one of the things that James and I are also interested in is talking to artists who have had long careers and how they make adjustment for age, for injuries, for the way our bodies change as we get older. How you have performed the same piece as an older person. I mean, it could be also like emotionally you have a different relationship to that piece too, but physically, like for instance, Marceau, I mean, he's quite famous for performing until he was quite old. I mean, into his 80s, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
82.
Which is marvelous.
When I was touring with him, he was 80.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
saw
you
him.
know what? He improved.
I saw him do a lecture demonstration live at Dimitri's school when he was 84. This was around
I think
2006.
he died at 84. So
Yeah.
Yeah, he died right 6
oh,
months
you're
after.
right. You're right. He died on my birthday.
Yeah,
goodness.
2007.
he
2007.
he
You're
was
right.
still working when he was
You were right.
84,
You're
83,
right.
84.
What kind of changes have you seen in your own performing?
Here's what I know. Two things. One, and I'm surprised about fact number one, and I've been saying this for about the last 5 years or so, 5, 7 back, I went, wait a second. All my colleagues are slower. You know, their movement is slower than it used to be. And I realized I'm just as fast, if not even faster.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other thing? I'm just as fast. But I break easier.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, on stage, people say I look 40. You know, they can't, costume, makeup. But
Do you avoid any particular movements that you might have done when you were younger? Or just approach them in a different way?
Okay, if you knew, which it's on, Karen, you must have seen me do this. At the very end of the umbrella, I do one of those descents to the grave where I go all the way down to the ground,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I can do it, but I realize at a certain point, I'm not going to do this 3 times a day at school assemblies. So if it's an evening show, they get it.
Right.
Do you have any disaster stories about, you said you're talking about school assemblies. Is there any one story that sticks out in your mind during a tour of that? This has to be a movie or something.
I'm doing a set of shows up in Connecticut, right? Like 2 a day, I think, for a few weeks. So how I set up my show is I have an iPad with a special piece of software so that I can put all my songs in order at different volumes even, and that sits on a chair right off stage, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then a wire goes to the 2 speakers I have, okay? So it's a chair. Hold on. It's a chair, looks like this, right? One of those wooden school chairs.
Yes.
Okay, so has the back, which is part of the story. So public's out there, and I'm to do my last play, which is always the umbrella. I start with that hat one, and I end with the umbrella, and then I often change up the others. So I go running off, and I have to do 2 things this time. I have to grab the umbrella, shift down to the next song for the umbrella. So I grab the umbrella and I come down to this so fast, I hit my forehead on the top of the chair.
Oh.
Now, I'm not wearing whiteface, but I have, normal actor type makeup on, right? Flesh and eyebrows, etc. So I hit go and run back out, not realizing I punctured my forehead.
Oh my God.
I had no idea. And I'm out there doing it, and all of a sudden, blood goes like, what the heck's that? And it's like, I'm bleeding. So I'm out here being a professional, show must go on. I'm out here doing it and trying to, kind of do a rotation and wipe it off and come back around, trying to hide it. Till finally a teacher, right, probably from the front row, comes up to the proscenium and puts a towel, or a hanky for me to, which I didn't pick up. It just didn't feel correct. But
Oh,
that was one of the real. I've never bled on stage, right?
oh goodness. Oh my goodness. I want to switch gears here a little bit and talk
Yeah,
about the creative process, where your ideas come from, and specifically the difference when I mean, you've talked a little bit about some inspirations you've gotten from music or other ideas or objects. So you're creating for your solo, but also back when you had the Invisible People, how did the creative process work with an ensemble? And just tell us a little bit about how you get inspired.
great. Two things I want to say as I walk into this, and it goes back to we were talking about audience and stuff. As a choreographer or writer, this is my advice to all my people. I say, look, if you're writing an idea for yourself, go home. Find another art. The idea that you're supposed to write is an idea of that they want you to show, meaning the classic mime is a universal art form, right? So if it ain't about them, like I have this play where I unscrew my fingers, right? And then they make a parade, and then eventually they have unscrewed this whole arm as they march away, and now I'm, oh my gosh, okay? The play was inspired by a heroin addict I met. Something, a friend of my friend's sister, guy. And it just, the things he said struck me for like 2 years before I thought of this, because this is universal. If I did a play with a needle, 500 people out there, okay, 14 might have taken heroin. Everybody else is going to be, oh, it's about heroin. Same with an abortion. I know somebody wrote a play about an abortion. It's like, go home, or find a way to universalize. There's a Donlin word, universal.
Yes.
But this, and this play came, I'm driving on a curve, 2-lane road, and as I come around the curve, I saw the whole image, almost the whole play, right in that curve. It just like appeared. And then, of course, it took years to get it up to where it is now, But my point is, here's what we mean when we say universal. To a kid, it's a Pixar film, I'm a cartoon,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they laugh. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the play later goes dark. It's a black comedy. Okay, out there. Okay, let's say it's about self-destruction. It's not really about heroin, but that's what I realized. This guy, he talked about how they were trying not to self-destruct so they could do it another day. That line, okay, blah blah blah. I'm talking too long anyway. But this, if you're a pessimist, they say, oh my God, I do that because I'm so pessimistic. Why can't I be optimistic? Or overeating, or everything that somebody in this audience, they all have something that they feel a little self-destructive. Like I shouldn't eat this much pie, or I shouldn't be critiquing everybody, whatever it is. So that's what I mean by universal. So
Yeah.
that's point one about what we write. Like even the jazz play I keep talking about,
Right.
it's an argument. And the plot ends up not being me about the song.
Mm-hmm.
It's that and it evolved. It took me 2 years to show it from the time I thought of it. This guy is an egotist. I am the violinist, right? And this guy is like, yeah, I know, but I'm good too. And then the bass player's like the judge. Hey, like if you ever saw Marceau's trial, where he goes back and forth and then he comes back to the judge watching him argue, which I stole it to. I mean, I didn't steal it, but I put that there. It was one of my favorite scenes. And what I'm saying is, no matter who watches the play, they see, oh, at the end of the play, this guy finally realizes he's been wrong. And the piano player was right. Mm-hmm. Right? So he's begging him to forgive him, right? So it's all music, it's all very gorgeous, and it's a technical, zoo.
Here's a couple of quotes from Marceau again. This is because what you're saying reminds me. Here's one that he said, which I think you're kind of explaining in your own words. He said, the portrayal of the human being in its most secret yearnings, that, is what mime works for. I think you're saying that. And here's another thing he said. He said, an art disappears only for want of schools and creators. Now, we're talking about creation right now, but the school, like I know you've taught for a long time from the beginning, as I have, and I feel that you understand how important teaching is for the perseverance of an art form, or even for the existence of an art form, as well as your own soul. Can you speak a little bit about your notion of teaching and how important that is for you?
It's everything you said and what Marceau, the quote, all of this is correct. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting, I've never heard that quote. That's not
which one. The art disappears, or the other one? The art disappears for want of schools and creators.
Yes.
These quotes are from a 1960 program of one of his shows. There's a list of these quotes attributed in 1960 to him. But anyway, that one about the teaching is very important.
Well, it's so very true, and it's about what you were talking about earlier, that you see that young people aren't getting the actual value of the art form because they're just doing the surface of it, and that's because there's not the teachers and the mentors, which is something that you take very seriously, I know.
This is very true. In fact, I have a joke with myself because I've been complaining to like my friends or students even about these young mimes, right? Who can't even show thought. And I'm kind of almost cursing them in a funny way.
The secret yearnings, as Marceau would have said.
So I realized I can't blame them at all.
No.
But I can blame their teachers, right? And then I was looking at my group. We started the summer intensive, which was really the big program compared to teaching locally. We went 9 a.m. till about 10 p.m. every day, 5 days a week, actually. But the last class after dinner was where people showed pieces, but not they're all from assignments we would give each day. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, to stay on that Marceau quote is by want of creators and teachers, right? So you say
right.
Okay.
And art disappears for want of schools and creators.
Yeah, schools and creators. Okay. Yeah. So here's the thing. A creator could be Marceau. Look how the art form dropped off when he dropped off tour or dropped off TV, right? Because there was less visibility of our art form. Right?
Less role models.
Yes, exactly. And the schools are places where you get the real thing.
Right.
You know? Mm-hmm. And for me, because I do both, a lot of people are surprised by that. I don't know why. I think I'm a good teacher. I never thought of myself as a good teacher, honestly, because my best friend, Nick Johnson, who we later renamed my school the Goldston and Johnson School for Mime. It's on our 10th year anniversary.
Did you guys have vaccines that you gave out?
What? Vaccines?
Oh, you said Goldston and Johnston? Johnson sounds like you have a vaccine or something. You know?
The Goldston and Johnson.
The mime vaccine?
Yeah.
Anyway, but a lot of people ask me, which do you like more, performing or teaching? And here's my honest answer. I say, I wouldn't give up performing for anything because I love it. I love having 500 people in my control, meaning they're laughing and they're quiet and they're getting a tear, then, but it's teaching. But what I get from a show is, wow, that was a good show. Okay, let's pack up our sweaty costume and go back to the hotel, right? But teaching, you have somebody that can't get through some problem or jump up a plateau. And when you see in their eyes that they realize they can do what they couldn't do for the last month or two, that look is priceless, and you just don't get that on stage.
Yeah, that's such an incredible award that.
Oh, it's getting hot.
What is it?
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, there's a fire here. It's time for rapid fire.
It's time for let it burn. Let it burn. It's time for rapid fire. Oh my God. So I'm going to give you some phrases, and you're going to do a quick gestural reaction. Rapid fire. Okay.
Okay.
You can stand up. You can be in your chair. You can do whatever you want. All right. Okay, ready?
So what, 3 seconds I have?
Really quick. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Neon box. Elephant laugh.
I got nothing.
That was good. I like. Here, just put your left arm up like a trunk, and that'll be it.
Yeah, it's.
All right, good. How about
sign language.
velvet sun?
Ooh.
Ah, lovely.
Good. Laser leaf.
Laser.
Laser leaf. Locked door.
Can't hear you.
Locked door.
Oh, cool.
Suspended sneeze.
Suspended.
Suspended sneeze.
I like that.
Great. Last one. Desirous pear.
Pear,
Like
pear?
the fruit. Desirous, P-E-A-R.
Got it.
Fantastic. Bravo.
Oh, so wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Rapid Fire by Gregg Goldston. And fantastic.
That was great fun to watch you.
Those were some phrases or single words. I don't know how you came up with those.
I don't know. I'm a mime. So I came up with words.
Gregg.
Hey, Gregg, what about legacy? Sorry, Karen. What about legacy?
You know, I just turned 65 last week,
Happy
and
birthday.
thanks. I think I've noticed for the last 4 or 5 years that's on my mind, you know? As Bill Clinton said, when you realize you have less years in front of you than you do behind you, you start to think of taking care of those, you know. So, and I mean, the way people talk to me about me, because I have a vow or a mantra. Uh, the reason I think I'm good is because I know how good I am and I know how good I'm not. And that has always been how I look at it. So I don't think about me. I think it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Think analyzing yourself. But it is like, well, I've written at least 40 good works, both solo and group. I never got to that question, Karen. Uh, but briefly, in the Invisible People Company, the others wrote the group pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I helped write a duet with a very comical girl, but mostly we made the company for Nick Johnson because he was writing all these great group plays during the summer times.
Mm-hmm.
We said, hey, we've got a show. But anyway, you know, so it's like, you know, I'll blink and I won't be here anymore. And I think who like Janine Thompson at OSU, they have a big dance library. Marceau put his stuff there, OSU in Columbus. And she says, we want your material there. So I'll donate all my videos and even all these classes I've been teaching. But only Haruka can explain. If somebody watched and wondered, how does he create that? And I'm going to make a pact that they have how to get a hold of her, because she'll say, no, he's using perspective. And the person will go, most people can't even see it. You know, here's why mine is so difficult, what I'm about to say, and why we get taken for granted as an art, why they think, oh, mine's easy, right? Because it's our job to make it look easy, which makes it harder, just like Olympic ice skating. You know?
Yes.
They make it look easy.
Yes.
Same with great musicians. So
Well, I think one of the legacies that you will leave is that you're a great teacher. Like the teacher, that's passing on that spirit to the next generations. I mean, that's a legacy in itself. I think anyone who's a teacher will have a powerful legacy no matter what discipline they're working in, you know? So, and you're definitely a teacher. So I applaud you for that pathway that you've included in your journey, you know?
Do you have advice for young artists? Just in general, like
one sentence. Always keep learning, meaning studying, and always keep trying to do what you cannot do, meaning challenge yourself.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like that.
Because then you live an inspired life.
Yeah.
You know,
hey, Greg,
wait. I just have to say it because it's, you know what, you'd never expect what I'm doing now. And if I could show you my kitchen, I'm a big bossa nova fan, and especially the bossa nova that's sang in Portuguese, because a lot of bossa nova got transferred into English. But I have 3 sheets of 3 songs on my wall that I found in Portuguese. So I am teaching myself not how to speak Portuguese, but how to sing it. I don't need it conversationally. Who do I know? But it's just, you know, they say the best way to keep your memory and all types of things is to keep learning something new. Right? New instrument. Old people, they give instruments too often, right? Musical. So I'm in there teaching my tongue how to say, Ajuta Dea, do all those wiggles.
That's wonderful. It's like
But
a little fact about Greg Goldston that we didn't really know about. You're studying Portuguese so that you can sing it. That's wonderful.
yeah,
What?
and because it's so good for your brain, and to the advice to the people I was just speaking with, you could study anything. I don't mean study a whole bunch of mime. I mean, I've spent probably 60 grand on my teachers. I've spent more if you add in the travel. Okay.
Mhm.
But here's the big funny, because most people, first of all, most people don't believe that. But here's the gig. When I'm teaching, when I'm on stage, you see every dollar of that. So invest in yourself,
Mhm.
right? And invest in, you know, like if I wasn't listening to bossa nova, I mean, not bossa nova, swing music, Umbrella wouldn't have that song,
Mm.
Right.
Here's the
right?
last question, Greg. The
Okay.
last question. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Happier.
That's beautiful.
Greg, is there anything that you're working on now that we'd like to promote, or either a performance or a new piece that you're working on? I know that you said that you and Haruka are working on Weeping in Silence, and a little bit
Yes,
about that show.
she helped when I was writing it. She was really my outside eye.
Mm-hmm.
She won't claim that. She has a hard time with taking Gregg, but you wrote it. She's like that. She's humble. So since the Weeping in Silence that's on, it's actually, there's 2 camera views of it on Vimeo,
Mm-hmm.
which you guys can see. But I've changed a lot since. I've changed the opening and tied it to the ending. And it's much more of a happy ending than, the first one has happy ending.
Do you have a performance of it coming up? Is there?
Oh, Broadway shut down, everything shut
Right.
down, who knows what. But by accident, I was telling you, I wrote a play. The whole play takes place on this chair.
Yes.
I did it by accident. I never finished the story. Somehow we got distracted. But I was showing Haruka how I do depth. And because I was talking, I showed her in the chair, not on purpose. And I have this beautiful version of the song Jinji. Okay, it's bossa nova. It's on my wall in there.
Mm-hmm.
Spelled Dindi. I learned that Di is actually G. It's not D. That's anyway. So I did this improv. Haruka says you have to make a play out of this. And I couldn't think of a play, but immediately I said, well, I could just be sleeping and have the guy get up like he's getting ready for the day. So off camera, I put a tie and a jacket, and my shirt's a little and a hat, right? So I just do all these cool moves, like I take my hat and use the chair to, and a real tie, real props.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said bitchin' when James, you said props. I rarely use them, but I think of them as like, this is bitchin', more bitchin' with prop. So what I am doing that I'd like everyone to know about is due to COVID, I started teaching on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of it, except for certain time zones, but actually one guy's in Belfast, right? San Diego, Canada, Mexico. So I will be doing those. If you're interested, the best way to even know if you're interested, there's a page on Facebook, not Gregg Goldston. There is that, but that's more personal. There's a page called the Get, Get-Gregga.
Mm-hmm.
Gregga. It's a Polish slang. In Poland, when they land at an A, it's the nickname for, it means, oh, that's Gregg's, right?
Uh-huh.
Or it was explained to me as things most specific to Gregg. So,
Ah,
which
which
is
is your teaching, is most
yeah, and
specific to.
you
Yes,
see what I teach. I'm not
right.
teaching, you know, the standard. Here's how to be Marceau or the crew or whatever. I'm teaching a blend and
Well,
teaching them to be them.
we will definitely put that link on the website so that people can find out more about like.
Yes, and my email, you could write me, and I'll tell you what you could take once a week or twice a week. I'll details later. But if you go to the Get Gregg page, you'll see videos that I have cut right from class and posted them, or
Mhm.
special videos I made, like the one is the look away, one is uh, see before you touch, etc. So there's a
I
lot of stuff
I
there.
saw them. They're very good. I really enjoyed watching them. They're really
Thank
very
you.
specific. Nice.
Yeah, I wanted to do especially those three because I realized if especially the first and third, that people all around the world, even if they never had teachers, would have some good pointers.
Good, good. That's your legacy, Gregg.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Gregg. This has been a great hour and a half. It's like
That's amazing.
your thoughts
Thank you.
are so wealthy and well put, and we really appreciate you being on the Mime Radio Show. One of our goals is to archive the great performers and artists of the last 50, 60, 70 years. So thanks a lot.
Thank
and we'll look for your work down the road.
Okay. You guys have a great day. Privileged being with you.
Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much, Gregg.